أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our classroom today. I hope and pray that everyone is doing very well. Jazakumullah for joining the class on time. We will begin, as always, with our opening prayer. So let's have a student to the mic for that. 3105. Let me ask you to unmute.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, let's hope that you can stay on the mic. So can you start with Dawood, please? Repeat after what I just said.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Good. Translation now.
I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected.
Excellent. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Good. Translation.
In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful.
All right. Rabbi allimni ma huwa khayrun indak.
Rabbi allimni ma huwa khayrun indak.
Good. Well done. However, for the Rabbi, the ba mushaddad has only a kasra underneath it. All right. So we're not going to say Rabbi. Okay. We're only going to pronounce it for one count. Rabbi.
Rabbi.
Good. And then we say the rest. The rest you said perfectly. It's just this. We're not going to say Rabbi. We're not stretching for two counts. Rather, we're stretching for one count because of the kasra. Okay. And translation, please.
Oh my Lord, teach me what is best for me in your knowledge.
Good. Where's this prayer from?
Tazkirah.
Tazkirah. Excellent. Good. Well done. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic. Allah Hafiz. Just a quick reminder about class etiquettes. Please do make sure that you're following them at all times. Okay, I'm sure I don't need to go through them all now. You're all very used to these etiquettes. Okay, so please do make sure you're looking after that. Okay, not the homework yet. We're going to be looking at the schedule for today's class. For the first part of today's class, as we have been doing in the past couple of classes, is that we are going to be focusing on the Hifzul Qur'an unit, okay, which focuses on the correct pronunciation of a few of the surahs from the Holy Qur'an. And today we are going to be focusing on Surah Al-Ikhlas. So we are going to be looking at Surah Ikhlas. And Surah Ikhlas is, of course, a very beautiful surah of the Holy Quran, which I'm sure everybody that has joined the class has memorized. However, we are focusing on not just memorization of the surah, but also memorization with the correct pronunciation. Okay, focusing on all the rules that we have covered so far in our classes in this semester. Okay, so that's what we're going to be focusing on, and I'll go through the surah verse by verse, and I'll highlight the different rules that we have to focus on in that verse. Okay, and I'd like you to all please listen carefully. And then, of course, we'll go to our breakout rooms. And today's breakout room, we're going to be doing revision. So what that means is that your teacher will choose any part of the verses that we have been covering this week. So either in class or as part of your homework, what we expected you to cover. And we'll be asking you different kind of questions regarding those verses, regarding the rules in those verses, and then asking you to recite from those verses. Okay, please do make sure you come at the end of class so that I can assign you the homework. Okay, so Surah Ikhlas is the Hifz surah that we're going to be covering today, the surah that we're going to be doing Hifz of. And this screen that you have in front of you, this is something you've been having a look at from Monday's class. And this screen will be available to you, but this is just providing some tips for you to help you memorize this Surah Ikhlas, but also other surahs from the Holy Quran as well. Okay, so it just has a few tips and pointers for you that you can use to help you memorize. So please do have a look at that. It's very useful. And then at the bottom of the screen, you can click on this link and it will take you to the Al-Islam website, in which you can listen to one of the Jamaat reciters reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas, and you can listen to that and follow along to help you with the correct pronunciation as well. Okay, so that's just a useful thing for you after class. All right, so of course, as always, we're going to be starting with Dawood and Tasmiyah. With Dawood and Tasmiyah, I'd just like to remind you all that sometimes when we have students to the mic and we're asking you to recite Dawood and Tasmiyah, some students go through it very quickly. Okay, because you want to get on to the actual surah. Okay, but Dawood and Tasmiyah is equally as important because it's the word of Allah. So we need to spend our time on it. We need to read it nice and slowly with the correct pronunciation. Okay, don't forget your rules when you're reciting Dawood and Tasmiyah. Okay, so I'm going to recite this. Please listen carefully. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Okay. With Dawood, a common mistake is the alif and the ayn, the sounds of those are merged together. So sometimes we hear students saying Audhu. Okay, this is not a lean sound or anything like that. This is a Udu. Okay, they are separate and the sounds should be separate as well. A'udhu. Okay, and then with tasmiyah, remember the lam has a vertical fatha. So does the meme have a vertical fatha. So both of these need to be elongated for 2 counts, okay? And the same amount of time as one another. So please do take care of that as well. Okay, this is of course another prayer from the Holy Quran that helps us in learning and of course teaching the Holy Quran as well, inshallah, which inshallah you will all one day be teaching the Holy Quran as well. Okay, but it's first important that you learn the Holy Quran correctly as well. Okay, so Surah Ikhlas. Let's go through each verse one by one, and I'm going to highlight some of the rules that we need to take care of. So of course we've already recited this Tasmiyah, which is the first verse of this surah. The second verse of this surah highlighted is this part of the verse where we can see that we have a lam mushaddad. Okay, a lam with a shadda. And as we know about mushaddad letters, they always join on to the most recent mutaharik letter. Mutaharik letter meaning the most recent letter with a stroke on top of it. So lam mushaddad will join on to the waw over here. Okay? Yeah, the waw will join on to the lam because waw is the most recent mutaharik letter before the lam. So we would ignore these 2 letters in between. Waw joins on to lam, okay? And then the lam also has a vertical fatha on top. So we're going to recite this as Wallah, Wallah. Okay, joining the waw with the lam and then producing the vertical fatha sound. Alif obviously has a fatha, so it's only going to be pronounced for 1 count. And at the end of this word, we are going to be pausing on dal, which has a dhammatain. And the rule of pausing is that if a letter has a dhammatain, it will change into a sukoon. So we're going to recite it with a sukoon on top. Okay, so this verse is going to be recited as قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Okay, let's move on to the next verse. Again, over here, we have a mushaddad lam coming up over here. It will join on to the most recent mutaharik letter, which is alif. And we have to make sure that we press down on the lam. Okay, and then the lam also has a vertical fatha, so we have to pronounce that for 2 counts. Over here, we have a mushaddad sad. Okay, mushaddad sad will join onto the most recent mutaharik letter. So Sad will join on to ha, because ha is the most recent mutaharrik letter. And we have to make sure to press down on the sad, and then we add the sound of the fatha on the sad as well. Hussa. Okay, ignore these two letters in between. Hussa. And then at the end of the verse, we have a dal, which we're pausing on, and the dal has a dhamma. So dhamma will change into a sukoon when we are pausing. Okay, remember your pausing rules. Dhamma changes into sukoon. So this is pronounced as Allahu Samad. Allahu Samad. Okay, let's move on to the next verse. In the next verse, over here, highlighted, we can see a waw mud. It's a waw mud because it's a waw sakin and the letter before carries a dhamma. And we know that letters of mud cause a prolonging of sound to 2 counts or 2 seconds. So we're going to say you. Okay, and then at the end of that verse, again, we have a sukoon on the dal. Okay, we're stopping on the dal, it carries a sukoon. And as we know that if the letter that you're stopping at carries a sukoon, then that sukoon remains a sukoon. Okay, it doesn't change into anything. So it's a very simple, straightforward rule. Okay, so this verse is recited as Lam yalid wa lam yulad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. Okay, let's move on to the next verse and last verse. Over here, highlighted for you is a noon sakin. Okay, over here we have a noon sakin. And if we see a noon sakin, we must look at the next letter as well sometimes. Over here, the next letter is a lam mushaddad. Okay, we have a noon sakin followed by a lam mushaddad. And the rule over here is that we will ignore the noon in our recitation. So what we will do is we will join the kaf to the lam, pressing down on the lam mushaddad and then producing the sound of the fatha. So you will say kulla. There will be no sound or hint of the noon sakin. So we have to ignore the noon, join the kaf to the lam. Kulla. Okay. And then on the ha, we have an inverted dhamma. Inverted dhamma is pronounced for 2 counts. Over here, for the tanween, the fathatain, we produce a noon sound, a clear noon sound. Alif has a fatha, so 1 count. And then at the end, we're stopping over here, and the dhammatain on the dal will become a sukoon. Okay, that's another rule we've already looked at. Dhammatain will become a sukoon. So this verse will be pronounced as وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Okay, so all together this will be Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Allahu Samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Okay, so that is the surah. Like I said, I'm sure everybody knows this off by heart, but now I want you to start focusing on how to correctly pronounce it as well. Okay, so this will of course come up in your exam, so please do make sure you start memorizing it and learning the correct pronunciation.